we just had day one of FNCS and it was won by none other than Mongrel, Savage, and Clix's team. I'm so excited to talk about who did well, who's struggling, and what that means going forward. Can these pros now play FNCS if they did poorly this week? We also got the announcement of the new 5v5 game mode that is looking extremely exciting and why I think this could have a massive competitive scene. I want to talk about why so many people are complaining about Fortnite OG, saying it's terrible, and we had Peterbot joining a new organization. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Let's kick off with breaking down how FNCS went. This was the FNCS trial. In case you guys don't know the format, really simple. The top 200 teams make it straight to Division 1. They can jump into playing the Division Cash Cups this week, and it means they're also eligible to play FNCS at the end of January. So it's a really big deal to make sure you can get straight into playing the Cash Cups. And we had a very, very big name win this out on EU. We had none other than Mongrel, Mr. Savage, and Panzer with a ridiculous match history. 496 points in 7 matches. They got a 57 elimination win. I will be watching that and putting up my React channel. Don't worry, that'll be up soon. 12 elim third, a 16 elim second, a 5 elim third, a 7 elim third, a 16 elim sixth, and a 19 elim win. Their worst placement game was a 6th place, and the only reason why that was a 6th place is because they needed to get out of that game to get into their last queue that they ended up winning. So their placements were absolutely ridiculous, along with a lot of firepower, almost dropping a 60 elimination game in game 1 of the opens. I know a lot of people question when Mongrel and Savage picked up Panzer, relatively unknown player, and he really proved himself. There was actually a bit of drama this week. I had made a YouTube video and we actually had none other than Vidil trying to play with Mongrel and Savage, telling them to drop Panzer. They decided not to, despite Mr. Savage and Vidil already making a LAN together in duos, and turns out very much the right decision. This trio was looking extremely good, and from not an incredibly overpowered drop either. They dropped at Bird. It's a good drop. It has good metal. It has the slurp shock, but it's not a super overpowered, drop with a bunch of mythics and crazy loot. I really hope we finally get to see Mongrel and Mr. Savage get an uncontested drop spot alongside Panzer and have the season that I really think they could have. Like, this could be a massive season for Mongrel, Mr. Savage, and Panzer. We're in chapter 6 and we have Mongrel winning tournaments still. I absolutely love it. As far as the rest of EU, we had some other big names. Seti, Hari, and Cami, the Polish trio, in second on 443. Seti and Cami struggling a little bit throughout chapter 5. Not really the same performance a lot of people expected. Alongside Hari now bringing the firepower, they are looking extremely strong. Vico, Veno, and Flixie, the trio that I think a lot of people, myself included, had picked to win this tournament on 433. They played really well. They went down in 9th place in their last game. If they could have pulled off a win there with a few more kills, they probably could have been able to clinch it out. We had Cringe, Mappy, and Della in 4th, a relatively new trio. And then we had Chap, Chicho, and Teeny in 5th place. Now, as far as big names that didn't qualify, there weren't really that many. There was a few names you probably heard from, competitive in the long gone days, like Marine, DreamHack winner originally. There was some big teams still currently. We had Nako, who missed out, Fire Hunter, we had Zhu, we had Asa. There were some big names, but the biggest one probably was Vidil, Twy, and Moneymaker. Now, I just mentioned how Vidil wanted to play with Mongrel and Savage. Didn't work. He had to find a last-minute trio alongside Twy and Moneymaker, and unfortunately, despite having 3 really good players, they just did not gel well as a team. They didn't even make it to Division 2, so all 3 of those players are now starting in Division 3, and with all these massive names now already in Division 1, they would have to give up their chance to play in a tournament for money to go to play in a Division 3 Cup with these players to get them to Division 2 and then Division 1. So as much as I don't think this trio will stick together because they obviously didn't play very well, they kind of have to. Otherwise, they're going to have to take, chances with other teammates who aren't really that great or really well known, or they have to somehow convince good players who got Division 1 to miss out on money to get them to Division 1 to then play for money. It's a really unfortunate situation for players who didn't get Division 1 in the first week. Moving on over to NA, and man, this makes me so happy as well. Muzz, Clix, and Rise in first place on 464. We are going into a new chapter and we have Clix, Mr. Savage, and Mongrel, 3 World Cup players still winning tournaments. Like, it's just so cool to talk about. Obviously, alongside my OC boy Muzz, Rise and Muzz patching things up. If you guys followed any of the trio drama originally, Muzz decided that he didn't want to play with Rise anymore. He wanted to take chances with someone else. He tried to play with Rapid. That didn't work out. Rise wouldn't then play with Muzz. Clix and Rise have been playing with some other players while Muzz has been back in OCE. They patched things up. They're back together. Their first tournament as a full trio on NA with Muzz back in Dallas, and they win it. They played extremely well. Again, 7 matches, 464 points, opening up with a 50 elim win, a 15 elim win, a 14 elim 6th, an 8 elim 2nd, 14 elim 4th, 9 elim 7th, and a 9 elim 3rd. Doing all of this on stream as well, same as Mr. Savage and Mongrel. It was really, really exciting to watch. As for the rest of the top 5, we actually had quite a few what I would say more underrated players in there. We had Dash, Bryce, and Braids, Aoxy, Jojo, and Pikes, Donnie, Maribi, and Lawrence, and then Ritual, Cold, and Peterbots. Obviously, big names in 5th place. You're used to hearing about Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, but I think 2nd, 3rd, and 4th going to really underrated players is showing a lot of this. You know, it's not all about the firepower and the big names in trios. Same with Mongrel and Savage playing with Panzer. A lot of the time it's playing with players who maybe didn't shine as much in duos or are hungry for a new game mode and a new chapter, who are just going to mesh well with their team and play well with them, performing really, really well. As far as NA, again, we pretty much didn't have any notable teams as far as I could notice not make it through on NA Central, so a lot of players won't get stuck in that awkward position that the deal is, and it looks like these divisional cash cups we have starting in a few days are going to be very, very stacked. Speaking of Peterbot, we need to talk about his new organization. Peterbot has joined none other than Falcons. They actually had a really, really solid announcement trailer. It was really cool to see. I don't think we're going to get too much like content out of the Falcons squad. They have quite a few players from their ESL roster from last year, or this year I should say, and it looks like they're going to be signing Peterbot. I'm imagining because it's Peterbot, you're going to win a lot of tournaments, you're going to have Falcons all over the leaderboards, but I think it's also a chance to secure the money from the Esports World Cup. We don't know what's going on with the Esports World Cup in 2025. It's assumed that it's going to have Fortnite as a component. We don't know whether it's going to be the ESL 4v4 game mode. It might even be this new 5v5 mode. I'll talk about that in a second, but no matter what it is, whether it's Battle Royale, whether it's the ESL game mode, if you want to get massive points to earn the money, because Esports World Cup has its own prize pool for the orgs, Falcons just made $7 million out of this year, you're going to want Peterbot. He's going to be guaranteed points in whatever game mode is at the Esports World Cup. When it was the 4v4 game mode, when he was playing for Exceed, he came 2nd. So he's going to be guaranteed points. It's a big pickup. Don't think we're going to get crazy content out of him. I don't think Peterbot's going to start streaming and making videos for Falcons, but it's cool to see another org still putting a lot of money into Fortnite. This would be a perfect time to talk about Fortnite's most recent announcement of their new first-person 5v5 game mode. This is going to be massive. Think of like Valorant, Counter-Strike, or even like a Call of Duty Search and Destroy in Fortnite that you can play for free. It's going to have its own pubs and ranked game mode. I'm guessing we're going to get some kind of tournaments on this, whether they're ran by Fortnite or third person. Maybe, again, ESL and DreamHack pick this up as the new game mode instead of their own custom-made 4v4 game mode. I don't know, but it's looking really, really good. Fortnite is just taking all these other games and absorbing them into one game that you can play for free, and it's just insane. People always talked about games that are going to be the COD killer. We have X Defiant that just shut down. Fortnite could make a solid play at this. They have a game that people love. They have all the mechanics. They have the player base, and it looks like they're adding custom guns just for this game mode. So it's not like you're using, you know, guns from a Battle Royale that might be a little bit goofy in this mode. They are developing this game mode as its own game. The images that we have leaked of the guns look so incredibly cool. They look really, really awesome. There's going to be tactical items like smokes and other things that you would expect in a tactical shooter. It's going to be search and destroy. You're going to have to plant the bomb and defuse it. It looks like there's going to be 12 rounds. You start off with a certain amount of credits to buy weapons on top of your default pistol. So it's pretty much just a tactical shooter like Counter-Strike, but in Fortnite. And I'm really, really excited to see what they do with this. Speaking of new game modes, I have to talk about Fortnite OG. Now, it's generated a lot of hype. It's got a lot of massive content creators coming back to the game. We had Myth making his return to streaming to play the OG game mode. We had Clix playing alongside Symphony. We had the OG squad of Cypher, PK, Courage, JD, Tim the Tatman, and Ninja. It's been awesome to see the content, but as far as the public opinion on the game mode, it's been a little bit mixed. People have been really liking the nostalgia, and, you know, it's a true rendition of Season 1, Chapter 1. The map feels nostalgic. It looks really cool, but quite a few people complaining about, you know, what Fortnite was. You never have any meds. There's no shield anywhere. The shotguns hit for way too hard. There is no mobility, so you're just slowly walking around the map. The games die out too quickly. The map isn't really that developed. There's just huge areas of nothing, but that's what Fortnite OG is. And unfortunately, to change that would kind of mess with the nostalgia aspect. So it's a little bit hard. Fortnite can add a bunch of shields. They can develop the game. They can put shockwaves in and other items to make it more fun, but then it's not OG anymore. It's just a weird version of Fortnite that's old, but kind of new. So Fortnite OG is in a weird state. I do think it's just rough because it's starting with Chapter 1, Season 1. Like, that game is literally 8 years old. Fortnite has developed so much past that, and while a lot of those changes you could say are good or bad, they did help the game feel more like a modern game. So I do think it'll get better over the subsequent seasons. I think around Chapter 1, Season 4 and 5 is when things really start to pick up. I'm an OG who played from literally the original season we're playing right now for OG. So I did play it all. I remember how fun it was, but the game's developed so much since then. The player base has developed so much since then. It is really hard to hold up. I think this game mode could have been an absolute savior during seasons like Nitro when the player base was dropping and people just didn't want to play Fortnite. But amongst Chapter 6 right now that is extremely popular, Chapter 6 Season 1, I think is one of the best seasons launched we've ever seen from a regular player base and competitive standpoint. I've been streaming this game for 6 years and I don't think I've ever seen this few amount of complaints about a season. There's a few things, you know, the ARs could maybe be dialed down a little bit, you know, maybe there's complaints you have about certain areas of the map, but overall, compared to usual season or chapter launches, it has been overwhelmingly positive. So I think a lot of people are contrasting the OG game mode to a really, really good game we have right now, and it's making them a little bit miserable. There's some people who are really enjoying it. There was an issue around skill-based matchmaking as well. It looks like they've just turned on AI in the Fortnite OG game mode now, and they've turned on skill-based matchmaking. So if you're getting absolutely dominated and that's why you're hating it, maybe give it another go. You might find lobbies more to your skill level. A lot of people are complaining, saying that adding AI is what's going to make it, you know, dead. That's going to make it terrible. Fortnite OG didn't have AI. Fortnite's stuck in a rough spot between trying to make quality of life changes that would improve the game mode, but then also trying to keep it as an OG game mode and keep it true to what it used to be.